What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with this 3 days out physique update from James Hollingshead. So looks very dry and conditioning looks absolutely spot on. But the fact is he always looks awesome standing by himself. And it will come as a huge surprise for you guys that he has decided to switch coaches yet another time before this upcoming British Grand Prix. So he's no longer working with Chris, the guy who coaches Jordan Hutchinson. Now, ideally speaking, he should have given Chris one more chance to figure his body out. And he probably should have done another show with him, as the France Pro that he just did before the Olympia this year. That was their first show together. And James, although did place well below his own expectations, but he was quite satisfied with the look that he presented. But again, for whatever reason, he decided to go with another coach. So this might sound a bit harsh, but the reality is that the level of competition, especially this year, that is way better than what it was a few years back when James was winning pro shows and he was qualifying for the Olympia. So no matter whom he works with, he's gonna have a very hard time against all these guys who obviously have better shape, better structure, and better symmetry than him. Now, I hope he brings his all-time best at this upcoming British Grand Prix, because the fact is he has to be 100% to have an even remote chance of fighting for the title there, because guys like Michael Krizo and Sazan Hirati, they have to come in very off in order for James Hollingshead to win this show. But let me know what you guys think. Before you scroll or blink too hard, have you subscribed yet? Please don't make me bring out the emotional blackmail. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon. It's free, it's painless, and that makes me look way cooler than I actually am. Next up, we have a 3 days out physique update from Tonio Burton. So 3 days out from this year's Mexico Pro, where he's the clear favorite going into that show, and a huge possibility that he will get an early Olympia qualification for next year. So there was no negative feedback given to Tonio Burton after he placed top 8. He doesn't need to change a single thing. Just keep on adding more muscle, more lean muscle tissue on his frame, little by little, the same way he did from 2024 to this year. And he's gonna beat guys who are placing ahead of him right now. Now his physique is so perfect, with the ideal proportions, crazy symmetry, and the man has got everything. Now it has been a few years since Tonio Burton switched from the 212 into the men's open. He has put on a considerable amount of muscle mass since he made that switch, but at the same time, he managed to keep that waistline super tight and very tiny, and not rushing to put on more size and more mass in one single season. That is going to be the key for Tonio Burton. Now surely he already knows that. So his biggest rival at this show, I think that's gonna be Shaun. Now if we go back in time and watch the lead in sports from back in 2021, that was the competition where Tonio got beat by Shaun Carrera. Him and Regan actually both got beat by Shaun that year. And years later, we are going into this upcoming Mexico Pro with those same 3 guys as the potential top 3. But Tonio is clearly the favorite to win this show because he has some awesome aesthetics. He brings world-class conditioning. He has an amazing back, top to bottom. And the fact that some people had him beating a guy like the Mutant at the Olympia this year, that just goes to show us what his potential is. Now, I don't know what Tonio's future plans are, but him winning here and taking the whole year off to grow, to get bigger, put on some muscles in all the right areas, especially in his chest and in his side shorts, that will be an ideal case scenario for him. Now, the fact is Shaun can actually win this show, but in order for that to happen, I do think Tonio is gonna have to come in off. So I think that was one of the most badass shot taken at the Olympia this year. Rubiel Mosquera aka Nexzilla walking towards the backstage after his individual mandatories. So those are the biggest legs in bodybuilding right now, and that too by a mile. So Rubiel placed 15th at his Olympia debut. he definitely could have placed higher if he brought a better conditioning, a level of conditioning that is expected at the Olympia stage. But this was still a good showing by him. So just to give you guys an idea on how big this guy is, here is a comparison of him and Orskela Shinsky from that third call out. So this paints a very clear picture on what will happen if this guy ever gets truly peeled and ripped to the bone. Now I'm not saying he's gonna win the Olympia or place top 3, but that kind of size and that much freak factor, that is gonna be very difficult to ignore no matter who is standing next to. And on top of everything, Rubiel also has an awesome shape, very nice symmetry. So I don't think this was Rubiel's best look of this year. The look that he presented at the Portugal Pro, that was better, especially in terms of conditioning. But he still had immense detail in those side shorts, and he had all the size in the world. Now I do not think many people noticed that Rubiel was in that same group as Derek Lunsford and Samson Dauda in that first initial call out. And the man looked amazing even in that group. So this guy just needs more time to get more peeled, and if he brings that top level conditioning, he's 100% gonna be in the top 10 at the very least.
Deutschen Fans was gegen den Mike haben, ist für mich unglaublich.
So with Ramondino having so much backing from his Brazilian fans, so much support, it is a fair question. Why did the German fans, they wanted Mike Sommerfeld to lose the Olympia title? Is that because of that hype thing, which convinced the fans to dislike him? And that too to such an extent, because honestly that's not fair. Because they mired the other guys in that same way too. So Roman Fritz, his fellow countryman, he spoke about it and the immense hate that Mike has received from the German fans. And that's actually quite surprising.
Deutschen Fans in ihrer Missgunst nicht nach. So richtig, also die hoffen schon fast eigentlich, dass er verliert. Und ich garantiere dir, jetzt wo er nicht Erster geworden ist, haben sich richtig viele Deutsche gefreut, dass er nicht Erster geworden ist.
Now I personally think it's because of the fact that many of the classic physics fans in general, they just did not think of Mike as someone who can represent classic physique. They still think he belongs to either 212 or the men's open. And that is probably why they were rooting against him. But he lost that title fight by just a hair, by one single point. And he's still the biggest rival for Ramondino for 2026. So if you guys remember, Mike was very disappointed when Ors picked Ramondino as the winner for this year's Olympia just a few weeks before the big show. So the extra pressure of the peak week, that did get to Mike. But in the end, what he presented on the Olympia stage, that was quite spectacular. And him beating the all-time best version of Terence Ruffin, that gives you a very clear idea that the judges feel that Mike is in the right division and he can be a future Olympia champion. So we have yet to hear from Mike post-Olympia this year and what he thinks about the outcome. So what could be the reason on these German fans going against Mike? So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.